writing salvation. Writing had saved him. That was what he said, and that was the truth. The proposition seemed forgivably figurative at first, essentially poetic, but it wasn't. Before surrendering his life to the ancient, transformative power, he had been living a life of wavering purpose while descending toward an end of tragic demise. It had not been an end obvious to external eyes, nor a descent readily discernible to familiar faces. His downfall had been the spiritual sort, the type easily hidden from others and commonly denied by ourselves. He had hidden. He had denied. He had maintained a pretentious respectability with the hope that what he pretended to be, he might eventually become. He had satisfied expressions of concern with assurances of confidence which he wanted to be true, but he felt something else. He had not known how to name the wrong, nor understood the nature of the malaise. All he knew was the feeling. It was a pervasive feeling with a voice like an unwanted companion who will not stop chattering in your ears, even while your eyes behold every busy event. It was a feeling that made him weak, a fatigue that made him want to turn from the windows of the world and sleep. But even when he slept, the feeling found its way into his dreams. He dreamt of himself treading water, in the middle of an ocean, with a beautifully pleasant island positioned perfectly within his view. He knew immediately that it was a place of comfort and contentment and calm. So he focused completely on it and swam towards it with fierce determination. But although it sometimes seemed to creep a crest or a trough closer, it always remained ever out of reach. He would end his effort with a frustrated sigh and return to treading, staring at the island, feeling tired, afraid, and finally hopeless as his weight sank into the abyss. He would awaken in reality but remain in that state of hopelessness, impatiently enduring the routine necessities of each day till the night fell and he could go find distractions to help him forget. Forget the feeling, forget the voice, and forget the dream. All he wanted to do was forget. Eventually he did. He forgot who he was, where he had been, and what he might become. He forgot the mundane memories of his lethargic pain, but also the peculiar mystery of his obscure existence. He forgot that he was alive. And with more time, he forgot the feeling he was striving to forget, though the feeling itself remained as a constant, haunting sentiment. You are dying. Then she came. He hadn't known what she was or where she'd come from, though he'd known exactly when she'd arrived. It was that inexplicable, small moment when, moved by some vague inspiration, he wrote the feeling down. It seemed a small act, a bit of verse scribbled on a page, brief and passing, but when he wrote it, she came to him, breathed upon him, touched him, comforted him. And it was that curious but certain comfort that caused him to continue writing, and that continuation which apprenticed him. His first full work was a short poem about his soul, simplistic and overly sentimental, but it was that work of words that reminded him he was still alive. And once he acknowledged that he had life, he realized that she had life too, and he sensed that she could rescue him. So he sacrificed all his attention to her, strained his ear and heart to hear her, and she, in return, yielded her mysterious being to him. She filled him with herself and saturating him with her pure, eternal energy, conceived in him a music louder and more powerful than his past feeling, and that destructively distractive voice. Thus he became obsessed with her and obsessed with honoring her through writing. And as he honored her, she taught him, trained him, changed him, renewing his mind and revitalizing his body. So he wrote more. He wrote, and she took him to visit new places, meet new people, witness new ways, experience new life. Together they discovered distant worlds, encountered fascinating forms, explored mysteries at the edges of the earth, and excavated secret treasures from the bottom of the sea. They traveled up into the stars and down into the depths. They visited the past and peeked into the future. They experienced the majesty of heaven and saw the degradations of hell, and spoke in a special language to all the people living within and between them. All of this he wrote. She spoke, and he wrote and continued writing till he was so tired he fell asleep. But even while resting in the theater of his dreams, he kept writing. He would not stop writing. Then one day, with unknown cause, he paused and looked up from his devoted labor. And looking around, he found himself sitting on a beautiful beach on a warm, cloudless day under a familiar tree whose branches gracefully shaded him from the glare of the sun. From there, he stared out at the boundless blue ocean swaying before him, and by the whisper of a memory wafting in the wind, recognized that he now sat on that island of contentment he had sighted so long ago. Upon realizing this, he considered it for a long, meandering moment that moved from where he had been to where he now was, and left him with a strong temptation to smile. But in the end, he declined the temptation, turned back to her, whispered something inaudible, and began to write again.